Hello, it's Tom. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to progress with our tutorial project. What we'll do is we are going to associate this picture box on the form, which is called PB deck, as well as this label, which is called label card count. We're going to associate that with a card dealer object. So when we load up the form, we're going to use the card dealer object to basically determine what image this picture box will show, and the number of cards left in the card dealer will be what's shown in this label. What we'll also do is we'll add a click event to this picture box so that when we click it, the card dealer will deal a card. We're going to dynamically create a card box control and add it to the home area. So that's our basic plan for this video. Let's have a look at the actual code and where I've declared the card dealer object. So here on line 53, at least in my version, we can see one of the private fields of our main form is a card dealer object. So I've called it my dealer, and I'm instantiating it with a constructor, passing it basically a new deck. So this is going to create a card dealer that has 52 cards in it, and they'll be shuffled. I'll scroll down. This is already wired, but to where my load event handler is. So this is for the actual form. I could have got to this, by the way, by just clicking on the form, going to the events, and I should be able to see it in this list here on the load event, double clicking. That brings me right to the code. So basically, when the form loads, what I want to do is I want to give my PB deck an image. Now, because of how I set up the library, this code allows me to get whatever the card image for my particular playing card is. So get card image is one of the methods of the playing card class. It's a non-static or an instance method, so I actually have to have a playing card in order to call it. So that's what this bit of code here is doing. I'm creating a temporary playing card by just calling its constructor and then calling the method associated with it. Because the default constructor for a playing card creates a face down card, the image that I get is whatever image I have set up for the card back. Now, you don't necessarily have to have yours set up this way. You could have put an image right in this project and loaded it that way. But the reason why I like this is if I've actually changed the playing card class to have different card backs or what have you, I don't necessarily have to modify this project. The other thing I'm doing is I'm taking the my dealer, so the card dealer object, and I'm wiring an event handler to it. So my dealer.outofcards, which is my event handler, that's part of that class, I'm wiring to it a method called myDealer_outofcards that's inside this client program. So I'm going to scroll down until we can actually see what that event handler does. Okay, so for me right now it begins on line 176, and I just typed this in. This wasn't a click thing. So basically what I'm saying is that if my card dealer ends up raising the out of cards event, what I want to do is I want to take my picture box for the deck and set the image to null. So that will have the effect of the card back basically disappearing. And that's how I'm going to visually indicate in my interface that we've run out of cards. So let's go back up to the top. And then finally, the last thing that I do on loading the form is I'm taking my label called label card count and setting the text to whatever the number of cards remaining is for my dealer object. So that should say basically 52 at this point. And when we start making some modifications to the click event, we're going to see the card dealer is going to start to go down by one each time. So we're going to continually keep that label in sync with the cards remaining. All right, I'm going to just shrink that up. We're done with that. Go back to the form. I'm going to run this one more time. Well, I'm going to run it lots of times during this video. So we can see it does say 52, And there's a card back, so that looks good. And of course, right now when I click on it, nothing seems to be happening. So we'll close this off, and let's have a look at the click event for the PB deck. Now I've actually already got it partially coded for you. So you can go into the source code file. You can use that shortcut I just showed you, or you can look for it. It starts at line 137 right now. But basically, this is what happens when the user is going to be clicking on that picture box for the deck. So the first thing I want to do is I want to say, all right, is there actually an image? So we know that if the card dealer is empty, it's going to take that image away. So basically I'm saying here, if pbdeck.image equals null, is the same thing as saying, is the card dealer empty? In fact, I could have coded it that way as well. If that's the case, what do I want to do? Well, there's a number of things that I want to do. Essentially, I want to reset the dealer and reset all of the panels and everything else. So I've created a helper method for doing that, because there's a number of different places where I want to reset the whole thing. So that's called reset dealer. So if I scroll down, we'll see what reset dealer does. I've got it here underneath helper methods. There's realign cards, which we'll be coding together, but reset dealer, you can see I want to clear the panels. So one of the panels is called card home, and the other one is called play. And in both cases, what I do is I take the controls and clear them. So if there's anything in those panels, right now they're empty anyway, so you don't really get a real appreciation for what that does. I want to reload my card dealer, so I'm just taking the myDealer object and calling the load card dealer method, which basically just resets it, reloads the cards, and reshuffles them. I want to reset the picture box image to a card back again, so we saw that in load. It's just another copy of that same syntax. And also we saw this in load as well. I want to keep that label, card count, in sync with the cards remaining. So that's should go back up to 52 in this particular case. All right, back up to the click event for the picture box. Okay. So again, if the deck's empty, all it's going to do is it's going to reset the dealer, and that's basically everything. Otherwise, what it'll do is go into this else. So what is it that we want to do? I've already got a bit of a plan here that I've provided for you to make it a little bit easier as you're coding this. But we'll basically go through it step by step. First up, creating a new playing card object. Simple enough. So playing card, I'll call it card equals new playing card. It's just basically a default card. Okay. Then what I want to do is I'm going to be using this object to, I'm going to basically set what this card is equal to by using the draw card method. So I'm going to draw the card from the card dealer. I'm going to do this as part of an if statement. So if, when I draw the card from the card dealer and I send it the card, if that's going to return true, which it should if everything worked okay, then what do I want to do? So I'll open up a block there. I think the block closes around here, actually. Okay, so if this is actually the case, then what do I want to do? I want to create a new card box control based on that card. So card box, I've called it a card box equals new card box, and I pass it the playing card that we got was drawn. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. Was drawn from the card dealer. So that actually creates the new control. We don't see that control anywhere on our form at this point. It just exists in memory. Now I'm going to skip a few of these. I just realized here I've put this brace in the wrong spot. I wasn't following my plan very well. So this whole bit about wiring events, we're going to skip over that, and we'll fill that back in. So there's some notes here about wiring card box click or mouse down, drag enter, drag drop, mouse enter, mouse leave. Where we're going to resume this is where it says add the new control to the appropriate panel. So it's panel card home. That's the name of that bottom panel. Dot controls, which is a collection of controls. Dot add, and then the card box that we just created. All right. So that's my if. That's basically all I'm going to do at this point. I think that closing brace should actually go about here. Yeah. Maybe not. So it goes if I'm doing these things. To display the number of remaining cards, that comment actually should go with that. So that's the end of that else. All right, I think that fixes it up. Let's try running it. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to click on the deck, and a card shows up in the home area. Presumably, the 8 of spades was the card that it actually drew. And you can see here that it's gone down to 51. I'm going to keep on clicking, and the cards are going down. You'll notice, though, in the panel that it appears that nothing is happening. Now, something actually is happening. It's adding new cards, and it's not just continually adding the 8 of spades. But the new cards that it's actually drawing are being added to the panel, but in the exact same spot. And counterintuitively, all of the new cards that are being added are actually visually underneath the first one. So we're sliding new cards underneath the 8 of spades. Now, that clearly is not what we ultimately want. I'm just going to go all the way to the end here so you can see that reset work. And I'll click one more time. There we go. So it's cleared out all the cards and reset it. If I click it again, I'll get something other than the 8 of spades. So this seems to be working okay, but clearly I want to be able to figure out where I should be putting these cards as I'm adding them. So I want to be realigning them appropriately. So that's what we'll work on next.